Hello and welcome to another Revel Coach Conversation with your hosts, Allison Nissen and Marcy Stout. We are the co-founders of Revel Coach. Believe it or not, we've been in business for about 5 years, and we are so excited to have with us today Patty Franco, who has been she's a returning guest. So we are super excited to talk with her. And today she has brought with us her co-facilitator of a brand new workshop, Bill Prinzivalli. I am so excited to hear all about you two. What have you been up to? Give us the lowdown.
Sure. Well, Bill and I know each other for quite some time through a networking organization called CollaborX. And so we've gotten to know each other. We've, been in meetings on every other week basis. And so one of the things that I'm certified to teach as an executive coach is positive intelligence. And Bill took that program, my 6-week boot camp, which I talked about on your program in your podcast last year. And then Bill has piqued my interest, and I attended a workshop with him on improv. And afterwards I talked to him and I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool to bring those two bodies of work together in a very interactive, transformative way and offer it up to executives? So that's what we've been working on for months. And we just piloted it with a group of about 12 people at my co-working office in Dobbs Ferry. And it was a big hit. We got a lot of feedback. We made some tweaks, and we are in the early stages of offering it to clients now.
Well, we can't wait to dive into that. I think it's such a creative idea of combining the two worlds. And before I ask my series of questions around that workshop and where it's headed and all that, Bill, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this line of work?
Sure. I've been in business seemingly forever, and I've started 4 companies of my own, and I've been consulting and coaching for the last 10 or 15 years. About 2012, just for fun, someone said, hey, there's an improv class in the city. Why don't you just pop in? So I said, I have no desire to do improv. I have no desire to be on stage. I'm self-conscious, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, someone coaxed me to go. I went there and I had a blast, because what I found out is that it was all about connection, and it was all about authenticity. And what are you feeling? How are you impacted by this other person's words? And how are you responding to that? So it was a real connection. And I've done a lot of meditation, and they actually likened this to meditative and tantric interconnectivity. And so I really found that to be fascinating. I said, hey, this is real stuff. So not only was it fun, but it was very deeply connected to each other. And so I've been compelled to do it ever since. And then just briefly, I wrote a book about it recently. I have a separate website on communication and improvisation, and I do corporate workshops. Oh, thank you, Patty. She's so great.
Okay, show it again, Patty. But there we go. You got to talk.
I'm Bill's PR representative.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I do improvisational workshops for corporations, and not only does it foster team building and communications, but authenticity, deep listening, active listening, and so it's the benefits are phenomenal. And so when Patty experienced it and she started talking about it, I said, this sounds like a good idea. We started to think about it, and we created something.
So great. Well, we do interview, a lot of people that have business ideas, and then they have collaboration ideas, and then they brainstorm, and they don't actually bring it to life with real live clients. So tell us how you guys, you went from the idea. How do you go from collaboration to then filling 12 seats?
Well, actually, it was really a fun process. So Bill and I set up a series of calls on Zoom, and we just started with an outline. And because he had taken the positive intelligence program and I had done a workshop at his home with, for improv, it just flowed really well, and we just get along really well. But we had conversations starting with, what's the objective and who's the audience, and, basically went through all of those key marketing and design techniques that you learn in all of the programs out there for entrepreneurs and people that are, birthing new programs and service offerings. So we just follow through on that. And, I had already had a lot of the content for positive intelligence and the mental fitness model. And he, of course, does a lot of work on a regular basis with improv techniques and mindfulness techniques. So we just looked at everything we had and started to organize it. And it took about 6 months to really get it, tweak it down, pare it down some more, send it out to different people we trust and respect for feedback, and then make it look pretty for presentation purposes. And then we just got a space and asked people in our wide network who wants to come and experience it complimentary and give us feedback. And a lot of people said yes.
That's so exciting that you've been able to launch and then be able to invite your friends along, because really that's networking like that is how you get your word out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was people that trust us. Right. It was people that trusted Patty, people that trusted me. Several people had experience. Patty's consulting. She also is a facilitator in Collaborex, so she's a leader in that regard. So between the two of us, when we put it out there, they said, okay, we know Patty a little bit, we know Bill a little bit. This sounds like an interesting thing, so let's get going. So it's exactly right, Allison. The networking is through personal contacts.
Right. All right. So is this the portion where I can ask for free advice?
Oh, there you go. Sure.
You can do whatever you want.
Oh, seriously, what are some of the things that you teach in the course? It sounds fascinating. I can understand why a lot of people wanted to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, are you familiar at all with positive intelligence, Marcy?
I am through Patty.
Okay, through Patty. Okay. So you want to
audience, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Fine. So why don't I'll let Patty describe the positive intelligence piece, and then I'll chime in and talk about how I try to integrate that with improv for an impactful experience.
Awesome. So yeah, positive intelligence in a nutshell is like the root of emotional intelligence. It's, before you can learn how to be empathetic and read the room and all of those wonderful EQ skills, first you have to learn how to self-regulate, but on a really effective level. And the way to, what positive intelligence teaches is how to spend more of your time being fully present and shifting your negative thoughts and emotions to more positive ones, or ones that serve you better, getting into your rational brain, your clear-headed thinking brain, what we call your sage brain, which is your wisest self, which we all have. We all basically have two sides of our brain, and this is actually science-based. We have, our sage brain, which is our wisdom and our creativity and the part of us that's calm and clear-headed. And then we have, when we're triggered, we have, our gremlin brain, or our, what we call saboteur brain. And it takes 10 different, it shows itself in 10 different ways. So what people learn in the workshop, and what's great about the positive intelligence model, is that you get to actually assess what your primary way of self-sabotaging is, which is so helpful to anyone running a business or just anyone with a pulse, to really understand, like, are you a people pleaser? Are you an avoider? Are you someone who is very, what we call hypervigilant, always worrying about all the negative outcomes that could happen? And so it prevents you from taking risks, or, putting yourself out there, or being more vulnerable. And so we start with the assessment, and then we teach how to, just catch yourself more when you're in that mode, when you're getting triggered by your saboteur brain, and how that disrupts your performance, your happiness, your peace of mind. And ultimately, if you're in a leadership role, that's what people are seeing. They're seeing that, you're holding back, or you're over controlling, or you're a people pleaser, and then people walk all over you and they don't respect you. And so it's starting with the self-awareness building. And then we, one of the things, and Bill can talk more about this, that is really effective, is then how do you shift? So once you know that you have been mentally hijacked to, the darker side of your brain, so to speak, how do you get back to your sage brain? Well, the way that we do that is what I talked about in your show last year, was through like mini mindfulness moments. Remember, I talked about the finger rubbing, or, noticing nature, taking an active walk, or, doing something that involves your five senses. And Bill has a wonderful article that he wrote, 10 mini meditations for busy professionals and executives. So we use that content, and that's one of the giveaways in the program is, pick any of these 10. Not everybody is someone who likes to sit still and do something for 2 minutes. There's active meditations, there's, there's silent meditation, there's all kinds of things that you can do. So we teach that. And then we get into the improv, which is really fascinating in terms of how that works.
So when Patty and I talked about this, I thought about it, and I said, okay, what I really want to do is to try to give them an experience. I want them to feel the difference between when they're in their saboteur mode and when they're in their sage mode. All right, as opposed to just understanding it mentally. So discussing it with Patty, we said, okay, first let's do the assessment, and then we'll define, put them into groups, like who are the controllers, who are the perfectionists, who are this, etc. So then I said, okay, what I'm going to try to do, and this was a pilot and an experiment. I told them right up front, I said, I don't know if this is going to work well, but this is my goal. What I did was I pulled one of them out of the groups. I think it was the controller, and I wanted them to experience that energy. So what I did is I created a situation, a scenario, and I said, what's a real life situation in your work where you are the controller? And we discussed that, and I said, okay, so let's do a role play then. I'll be, who do you want me to be? Your boss, the coworker, whatever, and who are you? Okay, now let's have the scene. And we get into the scene. And my goal, of course, was to stimulate the scene so that they would go deeper and deeper into that saboteur. Clearly, that was an experiment. I didn't know if it would work, but that was the goal. And I wanted them to feel that and really get into it as much as possible. So that was step one. Then what I wanted to do is go through 5 1-minute meditations. In that article that Patty referred to, I have tell my clients, these are 1-minute meditations that you can do. You can do 1 minute. You have time to take a coffee break. You have time to go and do a 1-minute meditation. So I did 5 1-minute meditations. I told them up front, okay, close your eyes, etc. I'm going to do 5 meditations at 1 minute each, all right? And see which one you like best. And at the end of 5 minutes, of course, they were in a nice chill state. Right. And then I said, okay, come back up, the exact same person. I said, let's have that exact same conversation and see what happens. Now, my hope, of course, is that they would come from their sage perspective, you know, because they're now in the meditative mode, and they would actually see the difference from before and after. It worked out great. I mean, I expected I would have to have the entire conversation with them, but as soon as I just started to ask them one question, right away they said, oh, what I would have done and what I would have said is this. I would have done it this way, and this would have been much better. I said, whoa, I don't have to do anything. That was it. So they got right into their sage mode and told. So I did that with each of the folks. And so there was an experience there. And I said, okay, now we know how to do this.
Yeah, well, that's amazing, because really the lessons when they're live like that, and the coach doesn't have to work too hard, because you created that aha moment, that clarity of thought that they could do that on their own. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And in fact, it turned out easier than I thought, because I thought I would have to have that entire conversation again. But all I had to do was to say, how do you feel now? And they just came. So again, it was an experiment, and we are making some tweaks to it based on, you know, what went really well, what didn't go so well, et cetera. But you know, I think they came away with an experience that was, it hit the mark mostly. Would you agree, Patty?
It did. Yeah, there was only one little hiccup where, you know, someone didn't quite get into the full mode of the improv, you know, but we probably weren't as clear as we could have been on the front end. So it was a great learning opportunity, which is actually what the sage perspective is all about. So you asked for a teaching nugget there, Marcy, and I would say this, you know, think about, and for you as well, Allison, think about something that you're wrestling with right now, or something that triggered you, even in a small way recently, like you got frustrated, you were disappointed, you were mad, upset, you know, maybe sad, you know, any of those emotions that kind of bring our energy down. You know, just kind of think about that. I won't put you on the spot, because I don't know, we didn't get your permission ahead of time to do that. But if you kind of get that scenario in your head, right? Do you both have one? Like a mental picture of it, you know, now think about, imagine the feelings as they were coming up as you were experiencing that issue or that situation, right? Like you start to feel it in your body, and Bill is great at pulling this out. You know, where do you feel it? Is it in your chest? Is it in your forehead? Like sometimes, you know, my brows get all, you know, tightened up, or it's in your shoulders, or maybe even your stomach. You know, I know my kids always hold their stress in their stomach. And so, you know, get present to that. And then, you know, if we were going to do a full-blown exercise, or we were in the class, then we would have you do those 2-minute mini meditations where, you know, you literally just sit in silence, or you can do something tactile. You know, you can get a nice shiny object and just kind of like focus on that because the whole idea of mental fitness to get you to a more effective level of performance is to not be in your head. We spend all of our lives thinking, right? We think if we think and we think again and we think more that we're going to figure stuff out. But that's not how it works. It's really when we relax and stop thinking and get fully present, the answers just come to us, right? That's why your best ideas come to you when you're in the shower or when you're taking a walk or when you're driving in your car and nobody is pulling at you and you're not on your phone. It's because you're present. You're hopefully, driving fully present. But that's the beauty of it. So it really is that simple. So I encourage you to try that like later, if you're still wrestling with that issue. And then the final thing I would say, just to do like a micro segment on this here is ask yourself this question. How could that situation that you just went through mentally in your head be turned into a gift or an opportunity? What's a completely different way of looking at it, now that you're calm and collected and you've done, some decompression around it. And that's where you're then able to access a different way of being about it. Like, okay, yeah, I'm still disappointed that I got the no or that I, whatever issue happens went down that way. But I learned that next time in the conversation, I could say it this way, or I could ask this question, or I could suggest a different approach or see if I could get buy-in, from the other person. Like there's so many possible outcomes. So that's what this provides. It's a whole methodology and framework to give you access to different outcomes and ones that serve you better.
That's amazing. So some of your executives that are too busy, so doing the 1 minute is a wonderful approach because it's like you can do anything for 1 minute, even 5 minutes. You can do anything for 5 minutes, but you still have that resistance that they're like, I just can't quiet my mind, or I just can't do it. Like, how do you help them? In their sage mind when they feel like it's not approachable.
Sure. Well, what I do is I give them several options. The first, the word that just comes to my mind that I just have to say is awareness. All right. If we don't have awareness of what's going on, nothing's going to work. So the first piece of awareness that we have to have is that we are in a saboteur mode, that we have been hijacked, that we are upset, we're in a stuck mode. So we have to be aware of that first. All right. Otherwise, we're just going to stay there. So that's sort of training. But when we want to do that, try to change that mental attitude in the perspective, yes, you could do a 1 minute meditation, and you don't have to go and sit cross-legged somewhere. All right, you can, for example, just go outside and look at the sun. I mean, how often have we just been on the beach and look at the sunset, look at the beach, feel the air on our faces, feel the sand under us, right? That's a meditation right there. All right. There's walking meditations, which they do. Thich Nhat Hanh and many people have professed, where if you just walk outside and just be aware of what's going on, be aware of what you're stepping on. Is it rough? If it's smooth, is it moist? What is the air like? Is it cool? What is the moisture? How about sounds? Are the birds out there? Are there trucks? What are the sounds? How does my body feel? Am I feeling achy? Does my back hurt? Just awareness. All right. You can just do that. If you just do that for 1 minute, you're bringing yourself into the present state of mind. That's a meditation. Another simple meditation that everybody knows is to just think of a loved one. All right. Just take a break, go out somewhere. Think of the person you love the most, whether it's a spouse, a child, an animal. Just feel that. And that's called a loving meditation, which you're connecting to your heart. All you have to do is look at that. If you have a photo, just look at that photo for 30 seconds and you'll start to calm down. So there are meditations like this that I have. I mean, the book has like 36 different styles of meditation. I took 10 of them out that you can literally do in 1 minute. And as a couple of examples I just gave you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's amazing, the more you learn about this, how much it's been proven through history. Different like historical books have kind of taught this, and somehow we allow ourselves to get so jammed up in our head, but like in our busyness that we don't have time to do it. But we know that actually things would come easier and solutions. So what's next for the two of you? I know you both have your own businesses, and then plus you have this combined. So how do you define what's next? What's the process of, collaboration for the two of you as you iterate to the next?
I'll take that one. Yeah. So we met to debrief on the pilot workshop about a week or so ago, and we have all these things we're going to tweak and just put the finishing touches on it, and then we're going to start marketing it. So you'll see announcements on LinkedIn, you'll see things, on different channels, and we're hoping for, especially people, the first 12 that went through it, to refer potential clients to us. Once we give them materials that they can use, like we're going to create a one sheet and, all that wonderfulness. So there will be announcements and materials and just a lot of word of mouth, I guess. And, our goal is to get, a few clients lined up before the end of the year. And then I think once we actually deliver it to, whatever size organizations, but with leaders who really get it and want to really embrace, this type of work, then our hope is that, people will refer us from there as well. So.
And Bill, who is the ideal client?
Well, one thing, Allison, I was going to suggest, and it really points to your question, is we don't want to have 20 people in this class. Right. We want to keep it to a small number. We had, like Patty said, at least a dozen in that first class, maybe even a little bit more. And as we looked at it, it would have been nice for every one of them to have that experience that I described. We were only able to have maybe 3 or 4 of them have that experience, and the others have to sort of have that experience through them. It's not quite the same. So in one sense, if we get executives, it would be nice maybe to just have 6 or 7, so that every one of them, so that there's time for every one of them to experience a difference between the sage energy and the saboteur energy. So the ideal client, initially, we're talking about executives, CEOs, vice presidents, executives, people that understand how to run a business, that understand how this can help their business, and so they can use it and they can experience it, and then they can think about how and if they want to bring it down to their teams and their organizations.
Great. Well, we are excited to see your next promotion, and we'll definitely be forwarding it to our group. And in general, how do people learn about this information? If any of our audience is watching now and they want to read about it or know how to register or anything like that, where do they get information?
Well, we don't have our landing page up yet, but we will very soon. So for now, they can just reach out to either Bill on his website or me on my website. So pattyfranco.com, and yours is your name as well, right, Bill? Prinzivalli.com.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if they send an email that way, and then we'll send them more information. And like I said, in a few more weeks, we'll have a separate landing page just for that offering. And we're going to call it Leadership Magic Through Mental Fitness.
That's great. Love it. That's wonderful. Well, there's nothing more important than executives, especially when they're, leading a lot of employees, to have that type of mindfulness and presence. So then that way they can lead right and, lead by example and encourage it in their organization. So thanks so much for sharing your Tuesday with us. It was great to see you.
Thank you.
And Bill, great to meet you.
Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you both. Yes.
Well, you have been listening to another Revel Coach Conversation with Allison Nissen and Marcy Stout. And today we were lucky enough to have Patty Franco and Bill Prinzivalli. Boy, I almost got that wrong. how to get yourself in a fix. But thank you again for spending some time with us. And we look forward to our next Revel Coach Conversation. Revel Coach is a collaborative platform that builds leadership programs for entrepreneurs, coaches, executives, and authors. For more information, visit us at revelcoach.com and follow us on LinkedIn to never miss an update.